And the Shadow Chancellor, Ed Balls, joins us now from Bedford. Good morning or good afternoon now, Mr. Balls. Tell me, is the mansion tax a manifesto commitment?
I think it is a very, very clear signal from us today that this is what we intend to do in government. You know that we've had a very clear rule that we're not going to make our manifesto decisions until our manifesto. And you only have to see George Osborne this week finally dropping a commitment he made in 2007 on inheritance tax to know the dangers of hard manifesto commitments made 2 years before. So we're not making manifesto commitments until the manifesto, but if the question you're asking is, does Labour want in government to reintroduce the 10p tax rate paid for by the mansion tax? Yes. They should do it now. In government, we would do it now, and it's what we want to do after the next election.
But at the risk of spelling out the bleeding obvious, you're not in power at the moment and unlikely be to 2015. So just get it clear, are you pledging a Labour government, are you pledging to introduce a mansion tax if Labour is elected in 2015?
Well, I answered the question very clearly. Pledges and manifestos wait until closer to the election. And we're not going to make the mistake of past oppositions and make cast iron pledges on tax and spending until the manifesto. But we want to do this. We intend to do it. It's our plan to do it. In government, we would do it now. If we had a manifesto in 3 weeks, it would be there. And we intend to have this in our programme for the next government.
Is the new starting rate of tax a manifesto commitment? Is the new 10p rate a manifesto commitment?
Well, as I said, Andrew, we're saying today we want to put right the mistake of 2007. We want to reinstate the 10p tax rate. We think that is fair and would help the economy and working people. We think it contrasts with David Cameron's top rate tax cut. We want to do this in government. It's our intention for government. We're going to wait for our manifesto until the manifesto, but we want in government in 2015 or sooner to have a mansion tax on properties above £2 million to pay for a new starting rate of tax at 10p.
All right. Now, when you were at the Treasury Minister...
I can't be clearer than that today.
Advisor, when you were at the Treasury, you looked at the mansion tax and you rejected it several times. Why? And what's changed your mind?
I'm not sure whether we ever looked in detail at the mansion tax.
But you looked at it.
Which was proposed. Well, I'm not sure if that's right. I'm trying to think back to those days. We raised stamp duty on high value properties, but the idea of a mansion tax on the value was first proposed by the Liberal Democrats in the 2010 manifesto. We said last year a number of times we would like to do that. I've got some shadow Treasury work going on looking at that. And I've said to Vince Cable and George Osborne, we'd like to work with you to do it. George Osborne has ruled it out. I think the Liberal Democrats still have it in play, but it's what we are working on. We think that if you went for properties above £2 million, which is sensible, and by the way, half of them, there's about 70,000, half of them are, or more, are second homes, they're not main residences. We think you could raise, the Liberal Democrats said 3 years ago, 1.7 billion, which the IFS said was reasonable. I think it would be closer to 2 billion now. And if we were to use 2 billion now for a mansion tax, that would allow us to do close to £1,000 10p tax band for basic rate taxpayers. It wouldn't apply to higher rate taxpayers. Basic rate taxpayers, 25 million taxpayers would get the benefit of the 10p tax cut from Labour, paid for by the mansion tax.
And that would amount to these taxpayers to an extra £2 a week. £2 a week. Is that what Labour means, being on the side of the working poor?
Well, we've said, don't do the top rate of tax, don't hit working families.
Answer my question, Mr.
With the
Balls.
tax credits cap.
It's £2 a week.
And look, well, Andrew, £2 a week may, for you, not be a huge amount. For struggling families at the moment, seeing their petrol up, their bills up, with all people in work going to, all the people going to food banks, really struggling, any help is worth having. What we're saying today,
but
though,
that's it. It's £2 a week.
Signal.
That's what you're offering, £2 a week.
To be honest, Andrew, I think you'd be unwise to sneer, to be honest.
I'm not sneering, I'm asking you if that's what it is, and you could either answer yes or no.
Well, I gave you a very clear answer.
All right.
£2 billion from a mansion tax would allow you to do £1,000, up to almost £1,000 10p band, which 10% on £1,000 would give you about £100 a year, £2 a week. It is a clear signal from Labour that our tax cutting priorities, and of course we'd like to do more if we could, would be focused on middle and lower income families. We would not be cutting the top rate of income tax. That's David Cameron's idea. That's trickle down.
All right.
We want to start from hard-working families.
All right. Now, when you were a Treasury Minister, when Labour abolished the 10p rate. So why have you changed your mind?
Well, we were all part of a government which did this, and therefore we all defended it.
You were in the Treasury, you did it.
And 2008. I was in the Treasury, and I've defended it. As I've said to you on this programme during the leadership election and since, both Ed Miliband and I said to Gordon Brown at the time it was the wrong thing to do. It was a mistake. But he was the Chancellor and he made that decision, and he thought by cutting 10p he would be able to cut the basic rate and people would understand that. But I think as he discovered, and to be honest, George Osborne has discovered in the last year, trying to play off one group of working families against another. In George Osborne's rhetoric, the strivers and the shirkers, that backfires, and it backfired badly for Labour because people didn't see the basic rate.
And you were against
it.
You told Gordon Brown, don't do it, correct?
Yes.
He did, and he ignored you.
And in the end, look,
his closest advisor in these matters, he ignored you.
Yes, and Ed and I have said that a number of times over the last few years. Gordon's now said,
why didn't you resign in protest at this attack on the working poor?
Well, I think at that time there was a debate about the 10p tax cut, the basic rate tax cut, tax credits went up to compensate. There was an attempt to put together a package to prevent the losers. Andrew, it didn't work. It didn't work, and we said to Gordon Brown at the time, it's not going to work, and it didn't. And what are we saying today? Not only did we get that wrong, but we're going to reinstate it. The thing in politics is, can you admit when you make big mistakes? It was a big mistake. We're saying, let's change it now. Labour saying, change it for the future.
Mr. Bowles,
I think George Osborne, if George Osborne ever came... Andrew...
No, let me ask you another question. The thing in politics is also not to spend the same money twice. Now, in March of last year, you told Nick Robinson of the BBC that the proceeds of any mansion tax would be used to reverse the cuts to tax credits. Now you're saying it'll be used to introduce a 10p rate. So what's it to be, and are you spending the money twice?
No. And I have to say, today, the Conservative Party are obviously pretty desperate with their attempt to come up with these flaws. I did an interview with Nick Robinson. I said, we would like to have a mansion tax. We would work with the Liberal Democrats or the Tories on it. We said, if they want to use that for cutting the top rate of tax, no way, which was partly around at the time. But we said if they were to make a proposal, for example, to help working families by cutting taxes like tax credits or any other tax cut, we would support them. We made no proposal at that time in a costed way, mansion tax for any tax cut, including tax credits. And today we are saying use it for the 10p rate.
All right.
So they're wrong about
not
that.
Tax credit. So it's an interesting change. Let me ask you this. Will the mansion tax be part of a general council tax revaluation?
Well, it all depends how you do the mansion tax, and there's a range of different options, and we're working on the different options. You've said one way of doing it, there are other ways. We would need, obviously, to find a way to get that valuation and apply the tax in a way
so you haven't
which
worked
was
that out
sensible
yet?
and fair and cost-effective. It's something which we are working on, have been doing, and I've offered to go and have cross-party talks with the Liberal Democrats and the Tories to try and find a way in which we could do this. It can definitely be done, and unfortunately George Osborne set his face against that. I think the Liberal Democrats are still more open, so if they want to join our discussions, that would be great. As I was going to say, Andrew, in politics you should admit your big mistakes. George Osborne is making big mistakes on the economy at the moment, flatlining, on the top rate of tax.
Question, though.
Maybe he should admit some big mistakes too.
Well, and if I was interviewing Mr. Osborne, if he gave me an interview, I would ask him about his mistakes.
He never comes on, Andrew.
I understand that, but I've got you, Mr. Bowles, and I'm running out of time. So let me ask you this. It seems to me, therefore, you've decided how to spend the proceeds of the mansion tax, but you haven't got any idea yet how you're going to raise it. And do you accept that if there's a full council tax revaluation, everybody's council tax could go up?
There's a range of different ways in which you could do this. We've been working and looking at the different options. It can definitely be done. That is work in progress, but we could raise 1.7 to 2 billion pounds
But you can't
from
tell
a
us
mansion
how.
tax to cut the
It's
10p.
magic money. You can't tell
I'm not
us
going
how.
to tell you how. But I'm not going to tell you how today because we're still working on that, and we would like to work with the government if they wanted to. If George Osborne would finally come
But
on
he
your
doesn't
programme,
agree on a
over
mansion
year,
tax.
he's
Why
never
should he
come
work
on.
with you
It's
on it?
terrible.
It's your idea. You tell us.
Why won't he come on your programme and say that to you, Andrew?
All right.
Why won't he come
No,
on?
We've
It's
been
terrible.
there before. I'm not getting an answer
We
to
have.
that. I better let you go and work out how you're going to raise the money. Ed Bowles, thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Andrew.